Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, February 9th, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 2023. The sun is still quite active. Active region 3213 as well as 3217, kicking off a number of M flares over the last 24 hours. But the big story, the death toll rises. Over 20,000 dead from the quake in Turkey and Syria. Keep calm. It's boom time. The number has increased. More than 21,000 now have been killed, tens of thousands injured after the 7.8 magnitude struck Turkey and Syria on Monday. Teams are racing to rescue survivors as aid agencies warn that new snowfall, as well as lack of water, communications, and power, could cause a deadly secondary disaster. So our hearts and our thoughts and prayers are out to the people in Turkey. Sprawling storm brings snow, rain, and high winds to millions in the eastern U.S., but soaring temperatures in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast will lead to highs in the 60s and 70s for many, so soak it in if you're in one of the warmer regions. And the storm will be tracking across the Great Lakes, and it will produce heavy rains and heavy, very strong winds. We've got the full forecast coming up as the snowstorm is currently hammering a swath of east and south Iowa. Even as it bypasses Des Moines, it's headed to southern Wisconsin. Lake Cachuma spills for the first time in more than a decade. This is a Santa Barbara reservoir, nearly 100% capacity thanks to all of the winter storms. As a sudden stratospheric warming event is coming and could collapse the polar vortex, potentially impacting the weather late in the month and for the early spring. Ding, ding. It could be cold, and it already is. January's average global lower tropospheric temperature minus 0.4 degrees C below baseline. So the Earth has been cooling now for several years. Let's take a look at the forecast. We have a strong storm to impact the Great Lakes region, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. You can see the winter storm watches and warnings up for Iowa and Wisconsin. But here is the heavy wind range. Those counties in brown and yellow, heavy wind warnings. So heads up, batten down the hatches. Heavy snow will track across the upper middle Mississippi Valley and the upper Great Lakes today as pockets of rain and freezing rain fall over parts of the Northeast. On the warmer side, there is a marginal risk of excessive rainfall, severe thunderstorms along with strong winds over parts of the eastern Gulf Coast, southeast, especially the Ohio Valley. Some snow will fall over parts of the Rockies and the plains as well. There are winter storm watches and warnings out here in north central New Mexico. So tropical tidbits is down, so we're using pivotal weather, which is the same GFS model. So let's take a look at the snowfall totals for the next few days. Here we are, Thursday into your Friday. There's that snow down in New Mexico we're talking about as that system will move up into Wisconsin overnight, bringing a total of about 10 to 12 inches for many, including the northern Michigan region. So 10 to 12 for the biggest totals. Uh-oh. Oh, my dear. So here's your Friday through Saturday. You can see there's some snow Friday into Saturday moving up into Maine, as well as snow moving down into the Pacific Northwest and then the Sierras during Saturday and into Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, we have a storm developing here in the Carolinas. Take a look at that. Virginia, Carolina, West Virginia, picking up some heavy totals potentially through the weekend. Those are your snowfall totals. And the long-term forecast, well, it looks epic, kids. Take a look at that. Let's pause that. Holy macaroni. This is through February 24th, and those pinks are 16 inches for almost half of the country north of Kansas. Pretty spectacular. Deadly cold snap hitting most of Europe. As you can see here, a 3-day GFS model for Wednesday, February 8th. It is looking chilly in most of Europe and insane over in Russia. Heavy snow from Slovakia to Greece as well. Pakistan's historically cold January. Take a look at some of the shots from Slovakia. Look at that. Too much snowfall indeed. Beautiful scenery, however, even though he's buried. Now, a small earthquake, 2.6 magnitude, was reported off the Delmarva Atlantic coast almost 24 hours ago, right off of Chicotee. Take a look at that, 2.6. Nothing spectacular, but rare indeed. As California faces a threat from the type of back-to-back mega earthquakes that just devastated Turkey. The megaquakes in Turkey this week showcase how a magnitude 7.8 quake could trigger a magnitude 7.5 aftershock on a different fault with 60 miles of difference between the epicenters. Now, interestingly enough, a similar scenario could occur in California. Megaquakes that could rupture the southern San Andreas Fault from near the Mexican border through LA County and beyond could trigger major aftershocks and shake cities as far away as Sacramento and San Francisco, according to documents and interviews. Now, in a USGS report published in 2008 detailing a hypothetical magnitude 7.8 earthquake in Southern California, scientists said a plausible aftershock scenario caused a 6.95 quake that would shake Sacramento and Modesto. So the same thing in this 2008 report, the shakeout scenario actually shook out in Turkey. So we're going to leave you links to all this. This is a 312-page report that will be linked below, like everything we speak about. Now, there was an article that contained the first image of the surface rupture during the M7.8 earthquake in Turkey. And we will link you to that paper, which needs to be translated if you want to read it. But here you can see about 10 feet of displacement along the fault and the amount that the road has moved. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Well, and it gives you some idea of why it was so devastating. 10 foot of displacement along the rupture. Seismic update. Let's take a look at the aftershocks in the region. They are definitely quieting down. Nothing in the 5 range, all 4 magnitude, which is good news for the final push to rescue survivors. And there are still survivors over 3 days after the event that are still being pulled from the rubble. I think an entire family was just uncovered moments ago, which is really good news. There's that quake on the East Coast, 2.6 in Greenbackville, Virginia. No other quakes of note. Worldwide volcano news update. Shivalus just puffed to 22,000 feet. That is a significant puff for that. Sabancaya to 24. Fuego to 17. And there was some spectacular activity from Korangitang. And this is in northern Indonesia. I don't think they changed the alert level. Yeah, they did. Raised to level 3, Korangitang. Incandescent avalanches are intensifying. The effusive eruption of the volcano continues according to the PVBMG local observatory. The lava flow remains active, currently about 1,000 meters long in the direction towards Batang. The eruption of the volcano is slowly but surely intensifying as the active lava dome continues to grow, with a new batch of magma rising into it. And here we have some graphics. Definite uptick here in the Gigaron. I don't know what language that is, but the Gigaron is definitely going up, as well as the hybrid false E. So that could be bad news. Let's learn a little bit about Korangitang, shall we? Here we can see the position it is in Indonesia, near the Philippines, just south of the Philippines, far northern Indonesia. There's a shot of it. The volcano lies at the northern end of the island of Siau, about 125 kilometers north-northeast of the northeastmost point of Sulawesi. The stratovolcano contains 5 summit craters along a north-south line, and it's one of Indonesia's most active volcanoes, with more than 40 eruptions recorded since 1675, and the average volcanic explosive index is anywhere between 1 and 3, with it changing between that quite often. The most recent eruption, 2018, was VEI-2, as well as a VEI-1 in the same year, and a VEI-2 back in 2014. The last VEI-3 was back in 2010, August 6th. And that is a boom. Space weather news update. You could see the uptick in M flares over the last 48 hours. Probably almost 15 of those babies. So a lot of activity going on on the sun, but none of it producing any dangerous coronal mass ejections or anything headed our way that could be life-threatening or dangerous to the surface of the Earth. Here we can see that sunspot region that is currently active and producing some of the low-level M flares, as well as this upper region, the other region that's producing the M flares. This has produced some sporadic, very small-scale CMEs that may be headed our way, but probably have minuscule effects. So the next candidate for something that could be geo-effective is this array that is rotating around over the next few days. And that, in fact, is active region 3217. And we can see that 3217 has already produced here an M1.1 and then an M1.4 just a few hours ago. So the flaring is increasing for 3217, and it is turning in to face us. Now, astrophysicists demonstrate a surprising way to block radiation from the sun, as if that's something we actually need. In computer simulations, astrophysicists show that launching dust from the lunar surface could decrease the solar radiation on Earth. Well, and kill everyone in the process, perhaps. So, excellent that we're now going to be dabbling in geoengineering. Now, you all know about the Chinese balloon. Apparently, it had tools to collect communications and signals, according to the US. So definitely a spy balloon. Does that mean World War III? Well, we're already in it, in case you didn't know. Now, the largest penguin ever discovered weighed a whopping 340 pounds and was probably delicious, according to the fossil record. Researchers in New Zealand have unearthed fossils from 2 previously unknown ancient penguin species, and they were ginormous. One of the new species is the largest penguin ever discovered. The behemoth that glided through the oceans around what is now New Zealand more than 50 million years ago weighed a whopping 340 pounds. The fossil of this newfound species, Kumamanu fordycei, were found alongside 8 other specimens inside beach boulders in North Otago. So, a 340-pound penguin recently discovered. Now, tri-state experts and planners are prepping for the 2024 solar eclipse because it's going to be a big one. And there will be thousands of people descending on a small swath of the United States April 8th, 2024. And they need to start planning now, over a year ahead. This is a big one, guys. Get your blankets ready. Now, the plant-based lie needs to die. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Now, recently, a newborn baby was taken to the hospital and was found near death and malnourished because its vegan mother was feeding it almond milk, of all things. And they had to explain to her that the almond milk was mostly water and contained almost no nutrients. It's not like regular milk from a cow. And the fact that most people that are vegan think plant milk is healthier than dairy milk, they've gobbled up the lie that needs to die. And in fact, it appears as if the U.S. plant-based beverage sales are dropping since 2021, which is good news because people are getting informed as newborns are malnourished. Now, if you haven't heard, the State of the Union TV viewership fell to the second lowest ever in recorded history. In fact, it dropped 29% from last year to 27.3 million people. Almost that many people were watching the live stream I was doing with Mark Carlotto on crustal displacement. Don't forget to get your free gummies. Hemp Lucid is giving away free mushroom gummies. You get 2 stress gummies, 2 sleep gummies, and 2 focus gummies. And they are running out. This campaign was a success. Click on Get My Free Gummies at the link below. That's boom to knowledge. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. Support the work we do. Become a Patreon. And that's a boom. Be safe. We love you.